Okay. Well, okay, here we are at the Divine Blueprint Unveiled opportunity to learn more about the class that has been emerging inside of me for probably about over 6 years. And there's been a lot of starts and stops. So I'm really thrilled that this feels like a real start today. So whether you're in our Zoom room today, or you're going to just listen to this on your own, know that the fact that you're even listening to it is major for me. And so I'm very thrilled about that. And so what's the buzz all about? I started the Sacred Synchronicity information came to me in May of 2017. And that's when I did a session with Alan Davidson in Houston, Texas, who he's made his transition now. I think it's been 2 years now. But the guy is still out there chatting to me. And I'll share about that in a minute, that he actually gave me some divine guidance for this very class that I'm excited to share about. But anyway, he and I met in May of 2017. And then the outcome of our VIP session was sacred synchronicity, so I'm like, I love that, but what is it? I don't know what it is, but I know it's exciting, and I felt real motivated. And then 2 months later, my husband, also named Alan, passed away suddenly. He had been having heart issues, and Zoom, he's gone. And my whole world went topsy-turvy, and sacred synchronicity kind of went way in the back of my mind. I wasn't really even thinking about it for quite a while. And then due to some wonderful supportive friends and nudges to get, out there and circulate a little bit again with my communities, sacred synchronicity started to emerge again. So I'll tell you more about that, but I think the whole unveiling of Divine Blueprint is so important, because for several years, so I had sacred synchronicity, and then my previous business was strategic attraction, attracting perfect customers. How do I merge kind of a spiritual message with seemingly a business message, which, by the way, was never just a business message, but those of you listening already know that. But how do I marry these two? And I didn't really know how to do that until just recently. And when I got introduced to something called AI, and when my business partner passed away, Alan, we used to bounce things back and forth all the time, and then boom, he's no longer around to do that with. And so in the last recent months, I discovered that I can actually chat to a computer, and believe it or not, I mean, I really poo-hooed this idea. It was the perfect collaboration partner for me to bounce ideas off of. And then when I had that little confidence boost from that, I went, I can do a class. I could do a class now. Now I know what I want to do. Is that Divine Blueprint is that, if strategic attraction and sacred synchronicity came together, what it would result in would be a divine blueprint. And so that's what today is all about, and an upcoming class. So even though I wasn't in a class or consciously creating a class all the years, I feel like I have been in the Divine Blueprint boot camp, let's say. I've had so many ups and downs, not only the death of my husband, but I had a terrible reaction to the COVID. We had COVID, everybody knows that, but I had a terrible reaction to the vaccine, and it produced chronic fatigue, and it wasn't diagnosed for almost a year later. But I went through a long period of just exhaustion all the time, not knowing what was wrong. And so I had that going on, and just as I'm starting to come on top of that, then I was in an automobile wreck. So it's like, what is all this? Like, do I even have a path anymore? Is there even a reason for me to even share a message out in the world? And what was happening through all of these seemingly accidents, which I don't believe in accidents, I believe everything is divinely orchestrated in my life for a reason, for a higher purpose. And so that higher purpose turned out to be my sacred synchronicity message of 4 doorways. And the 4 doors are love, power, intuition, and purpose. And I needed some way to kind of like visualize this large concept of sacred synchronicity. And that's where the doorways start to emerge. And that's how insights come to me. It's not like one big thing, or I sit down and all of it comes in. No, it's this happens. And then I have to go live life and then come back. And so what was interesting of all of these 4 doorways, because it wasn't intended to be like a sequence and just kind of like I had to put them on my website in a particular sequence. And interestingly enough, I picked the word love, and guess what's the first one that has to happen before all the others open? Is love. And that's what I discovered, and that's what the Divine Blueprint class is all about, is opening these doorways, and we're going to start with love. So I hope that makes you excited a little bit, because there's so much to say about it. But before I kind of go on, I got a couple of people here that said they might be willing to share a little bit about their journey that they've been on with me and sacred synchronicity, and maybe what attracted you to be here today. So who would be willing to share?
I'll talk.
Okay. Oh, good. Thanks, Jan.
Yeah. I don't remember how we met, Jan. I know it was a long time ago. And I've thought so many times, how in the heck did we meet? But I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is that our paths have continued to cross. And so I know there's no everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to. There's no like mishaps or anything like that. Not too long ago, some months ago, could have even been a year ago, I don't know, with timing the way it is, you did a reading for me. And then I started getting connected with the once a month Wednesday circle group meeting. And that is where I ended up finding out more about divine blueprints and interested in, okay, so what is this about? Because I don't know. So I don't know what it's about. And so to be on this call today, I'm here listening as I find out, okay, what is this exactly about? What are these classes about? Is this going to be something that just really resonates with me and I'm ready to jump in? So that's why I'm here today.
Awesome. Yeah. I love it. You're like me, it sounds like, in a way that I get nudged. And when I get nudged, I just follow the nudge. I don't know.
Yep.
I have to have the reason why.
Yep.
Nudge is there, go.
Go. That's exactly the way I am.
Well, that's sacred synchronicity, Jan. I believe that truly is really one part of it, for sure.
So I guess I will go ahead and contribute as well. My name is Lena, and I've known Jan for many, many years. I first came across the book on the strategic attraction plan. I first came across that when it was first published, and always liked it, followed her from that point in time, but really, really got connected to Jan several years ago when she was ready to relaunch after she'd come out of that period of just being quiet after her partner had left and so on. And I was one of the nudges for her to go ahead and get going and getting those classes back out there, because I'd always wanted to get certified as a strategic attraction planner, and so I did. And did that, and we've been really close and friends ever since. love what she's working on, and it has just always been a part of, I mean, even looking back at, the idea of strategic synchronicity made so much sense to me. And when she was talking about the Divine Blueprint, that's exactly what I always looked at the attraction plan as. I looked at it more as, okay, yeah, sure, you can use this for business, but this is really more about you, the person. And so this was like, I looked at this, I'm like, this is exactly what I thought it always was. And just looked at it as, this would be a good refresh to go ahead and get into. And I'm just kind of in a good space where a lot of stuff had happened to just go ahead and, and get focused back in.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you did, because we have so much fun when we collaborate, and so it just makes sense that you would be part of this. So, well,
Thanks.
let's see, what else do I want to say? Today I wasn't really planning to go detailed by detail, because there are no details. There are ideas and inspirations. I kind of one of these people that says, let me be used in the process without having, like a box of how it has to fit into. And if you ever did read any of my previous books on strategic attraction, you know that that was always a creative process. And that I always encourage people to be more creative with it. No, don't always use it exactly the way I say or how I use it. Bring your brilliance to it. And so that's what this class will be, is that I'm offering a structure of 6 times to come together, with some optional coaching in between at a really super duper low price, so that we can all collaborate together and use this. But one of the big things that I was excited to tell you about, so I mentioned Alan Davidson earlier, and I had done some work with him. He actually got in his business by taking some of my earlier programs, and then he just took off, just, and before he passed away, he had a whole program and a network of people. But one of the things that he developed that came through to me just this week was about listening to voices. And in his work, I wasn't certified in his work, but I participated. I'm borrowing some of it, and I think he's really encouraging me from, his divine cloud, wherever that is these days, to borrow from it, and it will become unique to this body of work. Is what are the voices that are behind the divine blueprint? And never really approached it that way. I always looked at, when I did strategic planning or strategic attraction, it was usually like, what's inside of me? And asking myself, well, that's still a good person, but there's also I want you to think of who's your spiritual or your divine guide or your mentor. And so for the class, what'll be a little different, we're not just listening to Jan say, do this. You're actually listening to your guidance, your guide with you. And so you can start to hear things from your divine blueprint and your spiritual guide. So I want, part of the class will be learning to meditate with your guide. We'll do some meditation in the classes. What I call meditation is maybe not like standard meditation. It's more like visualization. So when I do a meditation in the class, it'll be more like visualizing. And so I will just guide you through some visualizations each time we come together, so that you can start to tune into who is your guide for this class, who are the voices that are going to be speaking to you. And I'd like you to entertain that the 4 words that I have identified as, certainly there's many, many words that could fit here, But for sacred synchronicity, and if you have some paper, you might want to just write this down. The 4 doors or the 4 areas are love, power, intuition, and purpose. Love, power, intuition, and purpose. And so we're going to delve into each of these 4 areas specifically for the class, and we're going to let them speak to us rather than me speak to you and say, here's what it is. Just kind of like I love to do things, is have it tell us how to be guided for our plan. So that's one part of it. And so what is a divine blueprint for? For me, my divine blueprint over the last few years is like a restart, a reboot. Like life was going along a certain way and then it changed. Anybody can relate to that, I'm sure, right? Everybody's been changing. We had COVID, life changed there. You've had things in your personal life. We've had external things in our culture that have changed. We are different. We're different than we were yesterday. So the divine blueprint is a good structure for what's coming down the pike. And I believe it starts with visioning. And for me, truthfully, unless I have a structure and a group to help me envision, I'm probably not going to do it very well on my own. And so that'll be part of this group, is envisioning what could my divine blueprint look like, and how soon do I want it to unfold? Do I want it next year, 2 years? You get to say. This is really for you. It could be in the next week, the next month, and hopefully, I like to do visioning these days in smaller bites. And so just if it's just between now and the end of the year, I think that's a delicious way to start. So part of the class will be about that. Envisioning what you want, your divine blueprint, how do you want it to roll out, listening to voices, meditating, tuning into your divine, seeing what's up for Jan, what's up for Lena, what's up for me. What's up for anybody else that is dipping their toe into this group. So let me just stop there for a second and just ask you to close your eyes for a minute. We'll just do a little short visualization. And today we're going to just start with the word love. And if you would envision yourself walking up to a door, and you can imagine what that door looks like. It could be different for every person. And just walk up to that door. This is the door that you want to open around love. So if you'll notice, the door is closed right now. And so maybe the first inquiry is to ask love, what will it take for me to open the door? And so in your mind's eye, you might look at the door as having a personality or even being a character. It can transform from being a door into something else. What will it take for me to open this door and walk through the door of love? And just see if we'll pause for a moment. I'll be quiet and give you a second. See what kind of message comes through. What is your divine guide for love saying to you? And just say thank you and just open your eyes when you're ready. I'll give you a minute to write that down. I was going to my door of love opened differently than I expected. Okay, so my husband died. I have been dating. I thought it would open, love meant finding another partner. And that's what I thought. That was what the Divine Blueprint was showing me. Or so I thought. That was my interpretation. But what I discovered is that through all of these episodes, and that's what I really refer to, these different things that I encountered that look like major orange cones in my life and obstacles to navigate around, which they were, what they were pointing me to was self-love. So really, if I had been listening, if I had been in the Divine Blueprint class earlier, I might have asked my guide, my Divine Blueprint guide of love, what would it take to open that door? And I might have learned self-love, but I have eventually been learning that's the message. So I'm just curious, anybody else, if you received a message today around love, what, if you'd be willing to share, what was it?
I will.
Okay.
So the first thing that came through was joy, but then the next thing that really came through that touched my heart was courage. Courage and no fear. Those were the two huge messages for me. Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. So joy and courage. Yeah, that's true for me too.
So for me, it was getting back in touch with my divine self and going back to my practices.
What kind of
Just the daily practices of connecting and yeah, and so on.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. Yeah, it's like okay. Some people may not like this reference, but it kept coming to me recently because I was putting out a structure for a class again, and I haven't been leading classes except once a month for a period of time. A former coach of mine used to say, it's time to put your girdle on, Jan. Some ladies are too young to remember that, but in the old days, us old ladies would wear a girdle to kind of cinch it all up. You know, that meant you were suiting up and putting on your hose and getting ready to go back to work. So, yeah, you know, you don't have to put your girdle on, Lena, but I get what you're saying.
Well, I was going to say nowadays, although I'm familiar with the whole girdle thing, I think nowadays the girdle is referred to as Spanx.
Oh, now put your Spanx on. That's a better reference. Yeah, put your Spanx on. Just as bad as a girdle.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. So you can see, you know, if you just look at that very simple message that you got today, what can you see? I mean, I can see a lot, but I want to ask you what you can see just out of that little short interaction. What could be possible if you listen to the message you got today? Jan, you want to tackle that? What could be possible if you?
I think that because the two things were courage and no fear. So it would mainly be being fearless and stepping forward with anything that I am drawn to do. Any steps I'm not drawn to do, any steps that I'm drawn to take in my life to just be fearless and to do those.
Right.
And to have the courage. I mean, courage really isn't like a huge big challenge for me. But if there's something that's holding me back with like fear, then that's where I have to like really just, okay, make myself just step forward. So with the message that came through with courage and fear, I mean, I totally understand the message and and know to follow through with things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's huge. I mean, just there is a big,
Yeah.
Could mean a total life transformation just right there. So that's what I kind of anticipate with the Divine Blueprint class, is that we're all going to be making some major changes and transformations, and we're going to be in a great supportive environment to do that. Do you want to add on anything, Lena? I'm picking on you too.
And when I look at the what could be possible, it's just endless possibilities. Because in my opinion, when you are connected, that's when you are open to everything and allowing everything in and taking right action, inspired action, and going in the, following the nudges and so on.
Yeah.
And more open to seeing the nudges.
Definitely. So think about it for a minute, just if you had this kind of interaction going on over the next, 3 months, how your year might look differently next year. Like, I want my year to look so different about some of the things I've gone through over the last couple of years, really. And I'm excited that in the beginning of the new year that, I always feel like, a fresh new page. But I think that a structure like this is probably one of the most important things that might be missing for me and other people that this will be provided. And so let me tell you a little bit about what that will look like. I'm not going to belabor you with all the details of the course, like what we'll cover each week, but I will kind of highlight some of them real quickly. So I really feel like class number 1 is about love and discovering your divine essence. Like, that's really the most important thing of the class, is getting in touch with who you are, what that looks like for you, what your divine essence is, who your guides are, and who is going to be your way shower for the next few months during the program, or maybe forever. And it'll help to start crafting what is that ideal new year, my ideal month, my ideal new transformation. How do I want to look differently from where I'm sitting now? And then class number 2 is going to be about designing your life's blueprint, where you actually put some legs under what your goals are. And all along, we're weaving in these 4 doors of love, power, intuition, and purpose. The third part of the third class is about aligning with universal energy. And we all know the power of alignment. Oh my gosh, my friend from Houston was here this weekend, or this week, I should say. And she was my wonderful healer and body transformation specialist that I went to in Houston. And now she's visiting. She gave me a 2-hour session last night. So the truth of the matter is, it felt like before I was like Humpty Dumpty, had fallen off the wall, and she put all my pieces together. And that's what divine alignment is like, that also, is that we may have our physical self, but we may not be connected with our higher self. And we need that total divine alignment physically, mentally, spiritually. And that's going to give you the essence of yourself and the energy to do these goals that you have in mind. It's also about relationships. Class number 4 may focus on that, nurturing your divine relationships. Some people have told me that I've worked with that they're afraid to come out of the closet with their spiritual gifts. And I know I was, when I started becoming more intuitive and psychic, and I could see beyond the veil of other beings that had passed over. When all of that started coming in a few years ago, it had been kind of there on the shelf, but it wasn't anything I openly talked about. When I started to open up to the public that I had these spiritual gifts, there were certain people I didn't want to know about it. And so that can be part of what keeps us stopped from really delivering our true spiritual gifts. So we're going to nurture that relationship with ourselves and our spiritual gifts, and surround ourselves with a supportive environment in the class, as well as start to let that spread out to the people around us. And then ultimately, you hear a lot. I heard this word so many times and just didn't really get it. but the word is embody. What does that mean even? But I can truly say that in my divine blueprint journey that I've been on, embodying my divine self has been gone from being a very middle of the road person. And what that means is I didn't want to ruffle feathers. I wanted to just stay in the middle of the road, not too far over here, not too far over here. That way I'm a people pleaser. I can please everybody in that middle of the road place. But when I started to unveil these spiritual gifts, there was no longer middle of the road. There was kind of like, this is who I am. And it's been a gradual, and I'm still embodying, but this is what embodying your divine self is about. So this is part of class number 5. And then we'll wrap things up on class 6, kind of tied up with a bow. So these are just some of the things you can expect. It's a lot of experiential things. So I believe that we need space between the notes to let this class take place. So there are some gaps. It's since I changed the date to start October 11th, there are a couple of sessions that are a week apart, but for the most part, there's about 2 weeks in between each one. And so that'll give you time to either work with an accountability partner if you choose to have one, or to, if you want to work with me on a coaching package, I'm offering that. I can work with you specifically on whatever you're encountering. So, questions, what are comments, what are you noticing? Please give me some feedback. This is just kind of all been bubbling for so long. I have no idea what it sounds like for you.
It all sounds great to me. It really does. Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it, and know that it's a path for me to follow and do this. Yep, just sounds very, very good. Yep.
What gets you excited about it? I just have to ask you.
All of the things that we will be touching on in the 6 weeks, or in the six time periods together, that also being with a group of people, because I know that for me, hearing people's feedback and hearing what people are dealing with and how they're processing it, helps me with my own processing on things also. And then to have something that's going to be going through to, towards the end of the year, that I really like that concept also, in that then we will be ending and then we'll be starting our new year. I also like the concept too, that if we want to have time with you one-on-one, that we would have that opportunity during that also.
Well, gosh, you just summarized everything. Thank you. Thanks, Jan. Do you have any questions, or either of you have any questions? Marlena, maybe you had something. What's exciting for you about it? I'd love to.
Well, I don't have questions about it, but but what's exciting for me is I do work really well in a group in structure to be able to keep me going with it. So it's important for me to have that in my life. And sometimes I forget about that, that having that structure is important for me, because I do tend to be very much a free soul type of person. And the other thing is, the thing that excites me the most is that last thing about embodying your divine self. I used to live that way. I used to be that person who was consistently, authentically, living within my, divine self. And I miss that. And I'd like to get back there. And sometimes we tend to forget that we used to be there.
Yeah. No, I relate to that a lot. Right after, well, okay, so I mentioned Alan died August 2017, and then I kind of I don't know, life happened. I don't even know. I can't remember the next 2 years really, but I started kind of coming back around in 2020. And I had, oh, I know, I was in a coaching program with Mark Porteous, and we had each month we met with one of the other people in the program and just kind of went back and forth. So the lady had offered me a free session with her as a coach. So I went to my free session with her, and man, I don't even remember what she said. Next thing you know, I am just like tears flowing down my face. And I had realized that when my husband died so suddenly and all that illness that went with it, that I was mad at God. And that, all that devotion that I'd had up until then seemed like went away, and I didn't even know I felt that way. Like, it wouldn't be something I'd ever talk to anybody about because I wasn't even aware of it. But for about 2 years, I realized in that moment with her, I had cut off my connection to my divine and was angry and holding, and it was showing up in particular ways. And one particular way is that when I was dating, I attracted several atheists, and I'm like, if I'm law of attraction teacher and I'm like attracts like, why am I being drawn to someone that doesn't even have any spiritual life, doesn't believe in God? That's not a match for me. But then I seem to like, so that was a clue that I had been cut off. And that's really how it works, is that the divine works beautifully to bring and orchestrate situations for my highest good. And I do truly believe that everything is happening for me at all times. I'm not a victim of any situation. And so, yeah, I love that this is a great chance for all of us to reconnect or deepen our connection, however you want to look at it, our connection to spirit, God, all that is, the divine. So, well, I put over in the chat, this is the dates of October 11th is our first call. It's 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern. Adjust for your time zone. And then we'll meet the following week on the 18th and then on the 1st. These are all Wednesdays. And then the cost is essentially, I wanted to charge $97 a month. And so 3 months is $291. And I'm giving you, if you pay all at once, it's a 10% off of that. And so you get a little gratitude bonus when you sign up. If you also want the coaching package, it's again 3 monthly sessions or $97 per month. And there's 1 monthly coaching in that optional package. So that's $97 per session. And again, you get the gratitude 10 on that. If you'd rather have a payment plan, you just have to get with me and I'll work it out with you. I can do split that into 3 payments, make it a little more easier for you to participate. All you have to do is let me know and put our link in the chat. So I'll be sending everything out in an email. And I am doing another introduction next week. So if you'd like to come back and maybe you'll hear something else, and y'all are wonderful participants. I want you to come back if you can, but take a few minutes today and just ask yourself intuitively, is this for you? Maybe right off the bat, or maybe you need to sleep on it, meditate on it, take a nap on it, but say yes, and we'll have some fun. So thank you for being here. That's kind of the completion for today, but I am going to stay around if anybody has any questions and would like any one-on-one conversation with me. Let me know.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.